Hey everybody, after a little fun in the world of Overwatch, we're back in Boletaria, Lordran, Drangleic, YHARNAM, and Lothric. Let's not waste any time, I've got some fun planned for good old number 69. Okay, so sometimes I get comments from you guys telling me how poorly I pronounce things. Ornstein is Ornstein, Adjudicator is Adjudicator, but this one is taken to a whole nother level. I actually got an email from the boss herself on this one. Yeah, you heard me right. Amelia herself sent me an email and is upset about my pronunciation. And she didn't just send one, she sent it twice so I wouldn't forget. Well, I didn't forget, Amelia. No, you're not VICAR, you're VICAR. So, Vicar Amelia, when it comes to your fight, I think the strength is its design, for the most part. Amelia has a lot of moves that can be challenging to read and can make for a tough fight. The problem is that this is really beat that ass simulator like most beast bosses in Bloodborne. And when you're not beating ass, just whack those arms or punch her in the face. One big gripe is that she can heal herself, and if you're not ready for it, it can be extremely disheartening. Vicar Amelia is actually the boss I died to the most by a good margin in my first playthrough, so even though I enjoy beating her booty now, I'll always hold a little resentment for the Trials of Damnation early on. There may be some of you that are shocked to see Phalanx make it to the top half, but I've got a few reasons I believe it stands above the median. As you probably know, it's not a hard boss whatsoever, especially if you use the turpentine and firebombs you collected throughout 1-1. But I do believe the design is still complex enough to present a challenge to new players in the series. My main complaint is just that it's not very fun other than when you finally exterminate the blob. Though there is a second part that elevated Phalanx here, and that's the lore. Phalanx is the twisted demon form of Longbow Ulan, a high-ranking Boletarian archer that sniped the battlefield from the protection of her shielded inferiors. This brings a ton of tragic, or maybe even justified irony that Ulan is now helpless to defend themselves under the mask of their hoplites. So the moment when you do finally cleanse the world of this demon, know that you're fulfilling the worst fears of a true coward. I swear I don't plan this, but let's float right into another boss fight that is somewhat crappy, but damn good when it comes to lore. The fight is serviceable for the early game, where it's disappointing is that while it's easy, it's not complex in any way. You'll find the grind waiting for your stamina to come back more challenging than actually hacking at the big lug's ankles. The cool part is that this is actually the giant lord you killed long ago in the memory, so not only did you go back in time to shit on this guy's day, but you came down to finish the job! It gives cool motivation of revenge to the boss as well. I originally thought he was breaking his chains because, oh, he needed a cool entrance, but the reality is this dude recognizes you and is pissed. More lore fights! Maybe I should do top 10 lore bosses at some point to really sort it all out. Anyway, VENDRICK is another mediocre fight with great lore. In his particular case, the fight isn't so great not because of his actual mechanics, but instead because he has a gargantuan health bar. If you want to stand any chance, you've got to get at least a few of the giant souls scattered around Drangleic. But I had 5 of them and I still felt like the fight took forever! In some ways I can appreciate it though. The large health bar tests your patience and encourages you to fall into the trap of over-aggression, and believe me, this guy hits hard enough to punish that severely. There's so much to his lore though that I think it is beyond the scope of this video. To give a bit of my own thoughts on it, I think the dynamic of a king being seduced by the ominous warning of NASHANDRA to seek out and destroy the giants beyond the sea, only to have them return to Drangleic, bring doom to his kingdom all while humanity began to hollow, is a tragic and fascinating arc that curiously ends in VENDRICK choosing to go hollow himself rather than lighting the first flame. I know many shit on Dark Souls 2 for its lore, but VENDRICK is certainly one of the highlights. Old King Doran is a beast, let's just put that out there. This guy can 1 or 2 shot you in the blink of an eye. And you know how it all starts? He doesn't even want to fight you. No, he stands there and asks you to brutally maim him to prove your strength. For that, you can claim the Demon Brant to use against Allant, or if you've really got the balls, you can take him on. And it's honestly intimidating. He heals to full and says game on. It's cool lore, the difficulty does match it, and it can be a thrilling fight. I guess I disagree with the amount of damage he does though. It's almost a straight one shot if you get hit, which I feel is unfair for such a fast enemy. At least this knowledge should make you feel like a true badass for overcoming the Old King. Unlike the previous few bosses here, the lore is pretty basic, but at least it's kinda neat. It's a dragon that eventually got so hungry it became a giant mouth. Jeez, man, don't ever skip your meals. You don't want to wake up one day looking like this, do you?
And you can't piss on hospitality.
The fight itself feels extremely average in terms of where we are in the rankings. It isn't bad for reasons like the design giving you fair opportunities to strike, a large but not too large health bar, and a pretty cool arena. On the other hand, I hate the run up to it, and I also hated getting randomly one-shot by the stove falling over on me. So I guess the best word to sum it up is average. Wait a second, that's not right. Fade to black! The Sanctuary Guardian is a great opening to an incredible DLC. My first time through, I definitely wasn't expecting to get ambushed so quickly. Wait a minute, what am I saying? This is Dark Souls! The Guardian has pretty cool design, but I will admit it got a little tedious chasing the damn thing down. That and the poison sucks, but it's my own fault in this particular fight for not having any poison moss on me at the time. The lore is nothing more than it's a sanctuary and he's guarding it, but hey, at least it makes sense. The fight itself is pretty cool, but not nearly as memorable as what's to come in the DLC. So this is a bit of a different case from our earlier lore throwaways. Instead of feeling like an average fight with great lore, this is a shitty fight that I enjoy with great lore. Why do I enjoy it? Well, for her motivations. I really enjoy being able to kick the shit out of her, and it's not very frustrating to do. The whole curse you orb mechanic is kind of bullshit in my opinion, but at least on New Game it doesn't even matter because you can just tank the curses. Her lore of being a shard of Manus' lust for power is a neat tie to the first game, and this greedy drive is what motivates Nashandra into seducing VENDRICK and is the ultimate cause of the war with the Giants. So basically, a very important chunk of the game doesn't exist without her, so it's definitely important and makes the confrontation one to remember, even if it isn't the most well designed. Good old butt face. All you need to know is that this is a boss that has a face and a butt face. You bait the face and then you assault the butt face. Rinse and repeat while balancing between faces and you'll down this butt face in no time. Okay, but really, I think the mechanic of having to balance the fight between the difficulty of attacking the boss straight up or tricking it into exposing its other face is a really cool mechanic. But boy do I hate the mini spiders. I think this fight would have been way better if they gave Freya more health and eliminated those little buggers. VORDT reminds me heavily of something from Bloodborne. Many of the bosses early in the game are beast-like creatures on all fours, and he fits into that category. And just like our good friend VICAR AMELIA, this fight is all about that booty. Just get under VORDT and attack the butt. Man, we're talking a lot about butts. Well, his lore is that he's one of the underlings of Pontiff Selvin and is partnered with the Dancer. And if we're talking about top 10 souls pedonkadonks, then my number one is the Straight Demon.
No question about it.
VORDT's shortcoming is mainly that he's just so easy to get under and punish, but at least he does power up in the second half, making it a bit harder for you. So definitely a cool early game boss, but I do think there was room for improvement in the design, like maybe doing less damage to the player, but lower VORDT to the ground to prevent you from taking advantage of his blind spot. Okay, this boss deserves a shout out for the god-awful run up to it. It's not in the same league as Blue Smelter or Reindeer Fuckland, but it's up there. The boss itself is a two-sided affair. First, I love the idea of a roaming boss you have to stop to really fight it. I think something like this is better suited for a platforming game though than something like this, because here you're stuck trying to dodge relentless skellies that get resurrected until you kill these asshats resurrecting them, and you gotta dodge the damn chariot. Once you finally knock down the beast, that's where it gets a little bit disappointing. The fight itself isn't much more than a neighing horse, but the whole set piece of it does make it fun, and I do feel like the overall concept was executed decently. The Shadows of YHARNAM are as close as we've come to a gank boss done right so far on this list. The Shadows all have different mechanics, one yielding a katana, another with a torch and a katana, and a mage-like shadow that tosses fireballs. Balancing all three can be quite the thrill, and it's not too bad when the area is designed so well with the different gravestones to use for crowd control. There's even lore tying the Shadows to the Temerian Queen, which is an interesting piece of info to note when they're guarding Bergenworth, or more specifically the Veil holding back the Blood Moon. However, while I think it's neat, it doesn't really add much to the fight itself. And I'm not really a big fan of that snake attack toward the end. Those snakes coming out of the ground are damn hard to dodge and almost force you to spam the last ring wraith if you don't want to die. I think their impact is also lessened a little bit with them showing up as normal enemies toward the end game, but still, they're definitely a worthwhile outing. Crossbreed Priscilla is a very unique fight that I enjoy to an extent, can appreciate the design on, but still question if the execution was the best. The idea of making a boss invisible but allowing the player to use her footsteps to track her through the snow is awesome. I guess the problem I have is that once you find her, that's kind of it, just beat her down and it's over. She doesn't really have any depth beyond the invisibility mechanic. Sure, it is very neat, but I do wish there was a bit more to it. Oh, and I should probably mention the lore. She's a crossbreed of a dragon and another being, with heavy evidence that the parents are Seath and Guinevere, but she was considered a hideous monstrosity that was to be shut away in the painted world. I mean, maybe she's not the prettiest thing I've seen ever, but you can be damn sure that she looks better than that hot mess. Iron Golem probably would have ranked lower if I didn't enjoy this fight so much. The experience of fighting a large golem atop this trap-ridden fortress is an amazing sight. I love that you're able to knock him off too, but where I start to get iffy is just how easy it is for you to get knocked off or obliterated by those damn giants if you don't kill them. So while the arena may not be the best place to fight mechanically, it does make the fight a lot more thrilling. I'm not sure how well this one will be received since I'm pretty sure this is considered a top tier boss by most, but hear me out. From one side, I love the concept of what's almost a boss rush. You have to beat quite a few bosses to actually defeat the boss as a whole, and the kings are damn challenging even solo from my point of view, or maybe I just suck at dodging them. But the issue with the design is I think it could have been a million times better if it wasn't a rushed DPS test. Imagine if instead of fighting 4 identical kings under a harsh time limit, you had to overcome 4 unique kings to beat the fight. And instead of being time, the extra constraint on the fight is simply how much healing you have as you beat them one by one. That challenge sounds a lot more fair to me and a heck of a lot more interesting. Sure, it would take more time to develop, but if done right, it could have made the 4 kings an incredible bout. As it stands though, I'd still say it can be a good amount of fun. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this entry in the boss ranking series. We've got 3 more videos to go before we reach the top 10, and I can't wait to crack the top 50 with y'all next time. I thought as one last interesting thing for the comments section, I'd add this list of how many bosses are left from each game and what percentage that makes up of the total bosses left. Looks like so far Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 are being represented the best, but we'll see how it all pans out. If you're new here and enjoying the videos, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel for more awesome Blood Souls content and some other gaming fun. And if you want all the latest updates on the series, follow me on Twitter. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.